Where'd you grow up?
Philadelphia.
And how'd you get into comedy?
I was always a huge fan of stand-up.
Who?
All of it. Genuinely all of it. If it was coming on, I always use the example that, Carrot Top is the person that's supposed to be like laughed at in comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when I was watching Comic Strip Live or Caroline's Comedy Hour, and they were like, tonight, Carrot Top. I'm like, sweet.
I'm in.
Gonna get to see some new top props. And there was no one who
How do you think that happened?
Didn't really like getting it. I don't know. My thing was always to make people laugh. I think that was kind of my
in high school.
My place.
High school
my place in school was like to make.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be the athlete or the ladies' man or the suave guy, so it was funny. And I would probably watch a lot. My guess, without even exact examples, was I would just go regurge what I heard at school and use that kind of to be funny. And then when my stepfather brought Dice Clay into my life, oh boy. That was huge. That was huge. To go to school with those jokes at the age I watched that, probably like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Oh, I was a legend at that school after that.
So were you saying the poet, the
whole thing, whatever I could bring from it, yeah.
The
whole thing. And so being a huge fan of it, after high school, I think I took a year off and then went to community college in like South Jersey somewhere. And I just met up with a friend from high school, and she said we were just kind of catching up. She's like, oh, I thought you'd always try doing comedy. And then I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe I should try doing it. I didn't even think, I don't even know what the lower levels of that is, because I assumed anyone on TV, even on those showcase shows, which I know now are like, there's a zillion people who do those shows don't even do comedy anymore. But
yeah.
I was like, you're on TV, so you're
way up.
That's a huge thing. Philly seems so close to New York, and yet so far away that like anyone in our school that did something like, so-and-so's in a commercial, like, instant celebrity status in the school for being like in a commercial or something. So,
but Philadelphia is like another country compared to New York. I mean,
it is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And historically, I mean, those states were little countries. I mean, there's some of that cultural and it's just the distances.
Big cultural difference for sure.
Oh my God! But the distances used to be massive. Now it's those 3-hour train ride.
Yeah. Well, so not even.
Yeah.
But they But so when in Philadelphia the next day after she suggested I try it. My friend asked me to go to South Street in Philadelphia to buy sneakers or something, and I never saw it before. There was a place called the Laugh House. I've never even seen a comedy club in person before. I was 19, and I went in there, and they said their open mic was on Thursdays. I looked into it. I think it was about a year into this being an all-black comedy club. It was David Brenner's Laugh House before for years, and I guess David Brenner got out of the business of it, and they sold it, and it became a black. So I just organically started there, and I said that early crew, Kurt Metzger, who's brilliant, started about 3 weeks after me, and about 6 weeks after me, Kevin Hart started.
Wow,
at
Same
this club.
Mm.
Yeah, this lab. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's not there. But it was such a weird, but interesting and kind of fun way to come up. I think it's really molded a lot of like what I do on stage, is learning performance. I think it's over. Like, if you go to like the mainstream clubs, everyone's, of course, in this time, and it's the right thing, trying to be witty with their words and write the most clever thing. But there was something about going to the black, the performance of it was so like big, and I learned that kind of young, like how to be big and inflection and acting things out a little bit and stuff. It was really fun.
I mean, prior we just get up there and tell stories and act it out.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, same kind of thing. So it was a little more like animated and not so smarmy, I felt like, too.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I started pandering quick.
Pandering?
Yeah, I'm like Jewish and I wore a big silver cross and all my clothes were FUBU and stuff. I pandered, but I learned how to do well.
No.
Kurt Metzger, like I said, he was like a brilliant writer from the get-go too. And he would go up there and have a hard time sometimes in this club. It was funny, if sometimes we'd find these like kind of, not white, but like mainstream rooms to do open mics in. And they would just welcome, they loved Kurt so much. And they would, and say to me like, yeah, that Def Jam stuff's not going to like work here. And they were right. It didn't. That crowd of 5 other comedians didn't want to hear my P. Diddy be acting so crazy jokes.
What'd you use for material first out during that open mic period?
Self-deprecation, a lot. And then we learned, because like the black crowds, what was interesting about it, if they sensed like your nervousness about it, that's when you get pounced on.
Oh.
And so what me and Kurt did, which is always, it's a cool story, but we were like, man, if you can, like, we'd watch other comics and be like, if you could just decimate one person verbally, funny, you know, like at them in the audience who comes at you, like the rest will kind of fall in line. And so we used to go to the DMV and sit on a bench outside because like so many different kinds of people come in, and we would just to each other just try to like rip apart like everybody walking by to kind of get that skill for that.
What an interesting.
But Kurt was funny because, you know, eventually he wanted to start like killing in these rooms, and I'm over there humping stools and telling the DJ for my 4 music cues and taking my clothes off. I used to get down to my underwear on stage for a bodybuilding joke about my stepfather's like friends. They were always in the weightlifting world.
Yeah.
And I had tiny zebra print underwear. And I would get down to that and a tank top, and I would to the 2001 theme.
Oh.
We'd be playing. That was my big closer. It didn't matter what the context of it was. They were just, I mean, it killed. It killed. So, I mean, it would, chairs breaking for people laughing so hard. And then I ended up meeting Keith Robinson on a gig, who became my mentor to take me to New York, me and Kevin Hart, actually, to New York. And and I did this show with him. And I remember, yeah, there's Keith. I remember Keith saying to me at this show, I went up there and killed. I was opening for him. And he went up there and did great. He did very well. But like I hit a different way because I'm doing all this stuff. I'm taking my clothes off. And Keith came over to me after the show and he was like, you know, you're a funny dude, man, but like you should stop doing that, taking your clothes off like thing. And it was, I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. I'm like, whatever you say. He goes, I just destroyed up there. Like while he's saying this to me and giving me critiquing my comedy, there's like, you know, there's like fat black women trying to take pictures with me in front of an airbrush Tupac backdrop. And like, I'm like, I'll be with you in a second, Keith. You know, with these 2 girls. And, but it got into my, you know, he was like connected enough in New York and working that I was like, well, maybe it's, you know, it kind of got in my head a bit. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it is more about like what you're saying or writing or doing. It's like, he's right. Anybody can get undressed. And it's just fat guy with his clothes off joke. I'm like, yeah, I want to be better than that. So I stopped doing it for a while.
Do you ever go to Europe, like England?
I have done a couple of.
Apparently they like a lot of physical humor.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But British comedy stinks.
There's that.
But I stopped doing that bit for a while, taking off the clothes, and then I got to the finals of a contest against somebody who was very funny. Is very funny, and I was nervous, and I was telling all the other open mic comics, I'm like, think I'm bringing back the bodybuilding bit, and even they were like, it's not fair, it's not fair, and I was like, I got to win this thing. And what they did for the finals, they had us go up in front of a paying. Even though the open mic in the black scene was awesome because it was packed, sold out, but free tickets, and it was like DJs. And now we're on a weekend, a slightly different crowd because they're paying money to come in. You know what I mean? So it's still a black crowd, but it's a little more adult, less young. And I went up there, and my jokes aren't doing well because I have all this like kind of hacky black circuit material. And I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't do the bodybuilding bit, but I just started it anyway. And I'm used to this explosion of when it hits the first big crescendo, I take the shirt off, and I'm usually used to people who are like, you know, usually the crowd, you can't even hear anything. They're laughing. So, and it's just like a quiet, you hear someone go like, oh God. And then I'm turning around and unbuttoning my pants going like, I should stop. There's no reason to keep doing this to myself.
Oh no.
And then I drop the pants in the second one. You hear someone go, Jesus Christ. And that song finished. And I remember standing there, I'd be in this pose at the end, and that music would stop and the crowd would be going. So I was like, I'm Big Jay. And I pull my pants up fast. And you guys have been, you know, walk off to a bunch of high fives. And standing there, when that music stopped, deafening silence. And just one lady in the back goes, what the fuck? It felt like it took 3 hours to pull my pants up. I didn't feel like I had to keep like pawing for them. I'm like, I'll be out of here in a second.
Where was this?
At the Laugh House in Philadelphia, all at that same club.
Same club.
Yeah.
But it's just the difference between paying and...
Just never did like the actual weekends. I was always doing the Thursday night. Like it was such a hip hop situation. You know, it was great. But such great lessons learned in that scene for sure.